please welcome to the stage here Merlin Crossingham. And is a four-time Oscar winner for the animated shorts Creature Comforts, Wallace and Gromit, The Long Trousers, Wallace and Gromit, Close Shave, and the 2005 animated feature Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Please welcome Nick Hart. So we were talking backstage, and I remarked how I had moved to California, LA, Franklin, you know, right by, not far from here, the year that A Grand Day Out, the first Wallace and Gromit animated short came out. And here we are in 2025, you know, with another animated feature nominated for an Oscar. What's it like for you to have gone on this journey for like 35 plus years with Wallace and Gromit?
Well, you don't get used to it. Yeah, I mean, I have to pinch myself thinking back of A Grand Day Out was like a student film. Back in, I finished it in 1989 at the National Film and TV School. Well, Aardman actually helped me finish the film. That's where I went to.
So Merlin, like going from, being an animator for Aardman, talk about a level quality of the animated features and shorts from Aardman. It's like, you know that they're going to be good as soon as you see the name Aardman. But to go from being an animator from Aardman to co-directing a Wallace and Gromit feature, what was that jump like for you?
Well, the jump is quite radical, because as an animator you're responsible for a very finite slice of time, whether that's the shot or a sequence of shots within a sequence. And when you're directing, while you're responsible for those finite slices, it's the bigger picture. And directing a film like this is a bit like doing mental gymnastics every day, because we don't shoot in order, we shoot the beginning and the end. We might be shooting the same sequence with duplicate sets, with the camera going one way and another way, so you have to have the whole film in your head all the time. And so it's apart, basically, from animating.
So when you went from, you did the animated feature in 2005, and you had another short, I think, around 2008. So when did the idea come about for Vengeance Most Fowl, and specifically bringing back Feathers for All? I mean, what a blast from the past. Let's hear it for Feathers!
Sorry about that. These are the actual original puppets as well from the movie. This is the scale we shoot with.
So when there's a close-up of Feathers, it's a close-up of the puppet this size.
It was actually, the idea, Feathers wasn't in the original idea actually. It all happened in a couple of different stages. Around the time of Curse of the Were-Rabbit that you mentioned, 2005, started toying with this idea of Wallace inventing a smart gnome, or just a robot gnome back then, to help Gromit with the garden chores. And it tinkered around with that idea for a few years on and off, and got distracted with other things, and then came back about 5 years ago. And it was always lacking like a sinister element that a lot of the Wallace and Gromit films have, you know, and then there was Feathers like that, but it was suddenly a kind of a bright kind of flash of inspiration. This is the perfect opportunity to bring Feathers back. People have mentioned why isn't Feathers ever coming back, and there's never been a good enough kind of context or idea really that was really that inspiring. So this was like suddenly a eureka moment. And that changed the whole thing. Mark Burton came on board at that time. Back then, by the way, it was 2 half-hours, like 2 30-minute films. And it was kind of, because it was like just inventing an invention that goes wrong, seemed That was more like, I was just thinking the other day, it's like Westworld with no. And then suddenly when feathers came in, it became Cape Fear with penguins. That's when we found what the movie was.
And it went from being originally, in maybe in the earlier stages, conceived as a 30-minute short, and then it obviously got expanded to a feature. Like, when did you start to like look at each other and go, let's go for it, let's do another feature?
It was kind of, as Nick was starting to explain there, that it was the story that really dictated it. Because, and once feathers came in to the equation, being in two parts, as two short films, it wasn't comfortable in its own skin. And as soon as we started talking about it as a feature, it all made sense. And so, really, it was story-driven, which is the right reason to do it, rather than sort of try and reverse into a shape of production that was never going to be comfortable.
So, you know, the thing about stop-motion animation is, first of all, there's been a lot of it over the last couple of years. You know, Guillermo del Toro won an Oscar for Pinocchio. It was amazing. But with all the advances that have been made in animation, especially computer animation, what kind of advances have been made in stop-motion animation with regard to Wallace and Gromit? Like, what were some of the things that you were able to do on Vengeance Most Fowl that you couldn't have done on Where Rabbit? If anything.
Right, so I think there's two main things. The first one is what they're made of. So we used to make most of them out of modelling clay, and now for Wallace and Gromit in particular, it's just the heads and hands that's modelling clay, the rest is silicone. And that just speeds up the animation. Silicone isn't always the answer. We did sometimes have to revert back to the full clay, but it's the difference between doing half a second of animation a day and doing 1 second of animation a day for each animator, which, you know, that's like 100% more, and the producers love that. So, and we didn't sort of have to compromise creatively, you know, there's some compromises if you're being really fussy, but it wasn't too big an ask. And the other one is, in Act 3, with our barge chase, all that water, you know, water and particle effects in stop motion, you can do it, but it has a very basic stylistic look. And we wanted a little bit more sophistication, and so the CG in this is really, really cutting edge. It's not, none of the character animation is CG, but the effects are. So we've got steam, fog, and it all has depth, and so we were doing things like LiDAR scanning the sets as we animated, so that the CG team could actually place the effects in space within the shots, of shooting in stereo so they could make depth maps, and then stylizing the water is actually also really difficult, because CG water is designed to work in live action. So it's all programmed to look like real water. But if our water looked like real water, it would look really wrong in Wallace as well. So asking the CG team to stylize it into a way that felt comfortable was really much easier said than done. So those are kind of main things that we can do now. We could do as well.
So, just as you can hear, like, oh, we're going to shoot a half of a second of film today. Whoa, we're really going for it. It takes a long time to make a movie like this. And what's amazing is how, you know, you have a story, you have a plot, you have an antagonist, and then you have a period of time when real life happens to match the movie. Artificial intelligence, technology gone wrong. Would you conceive Norbot in that way, or is it just an incredible coincidence that now at this time, you know, artificial intelligence and all these problems that are coming up from it, obviously in the movie it's very subtle because it's fun, but you know, it is kind of like life imitating art and vice versa.
I think it's just a bit of luck, actually.
Well, no, to be fair, Mark Burton, the screenwriter, did acknowledge that the conversation about technology was really important about 5 years ago. But when we were, AI in particular, but AI moves so fast, it was a conversation, but it was in its infancy. None of the creative issues that have been discussed so much in LA and around the strikes that happened and the use of AI to replace creative elements of filmmaking just weren't even on the radar. And so for us to land a film like this at a point where the discussion is a hot topic, it is fortuitous for us. But equally, technology has always been when the steam train was invented, everyone was really worried. So technology has always been a worry ever since technology was a thing.
So, this is the first Wallace and Gromit movie to have Wallace, Ben Whitehead, after Pierce Howson passed on in 2017. So I know he had been sort of working with Peter's understudy. Like, when did you finally get to the point where, like, okay, let's make this official? And what was it like to work with Ben after working with Peter for a while?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Ben actually came onto Curse of the Were-Rabbit, playing one of the village background characters, and we discovered one day that he needed to read in with some of the other actors when Peter wasn't available, and we discovered he could do a fantastic mimic of Peter's Wallace as and the big shoes to step into as well. But yeah, I mean, he's been a dream really, and an absolute godsend for us, the future of Wallace and Gromit.
We've worked with him for a long time, so to us, he's sort of always, not always, but has been a big part of the Wallace and Gromit team, if you like, but never sort of in the front, doing a big show. And so for us, it wasn't a difficult decision, it was quite a natural progression. And I'm really, really happy that he knew Peter knew him, he had Peter's blessing, and that it was a very nice sort of picking up of the torch and carrying on the voice.
Perfect fit. Yeah. So on your best day, your most productive day, how many seconds of film did you actually shoot?
I do remember the week when we hit 140 seconds as a crew for the week, and we had, I think producer bought us all beer at the end of the week because we've done so well. But it's not much.
Dailies were pretty quick.
Yeah.
How many animators at the peak of production did you have?
It was 35. And the whole crew itself was around about 260 to support those 35. And we were shooting for 15 months.
15 months. So when you're working on an animated feature, like a computer animated feature or a hand drawn, you get to workshop things. You get to see what works and what doesn't. And if something doesn't work and you redo the scene, this happens with a lot of animated features. They, all the cast back to do the voiceovers and then do the animation. They start from scratch and do a whole new scene. Like with a stop motion feature, do you even have that problem? No,
Well, we get one shot at it. Yeah, and our reshoot rate was about 1%. So to do a reshoot is a really big deal. So we do a lot of preparation.
Block throughs, where we get the characters, the puppets, and block through the scene. Well, by the way, as well, very often we do live action video reference. So we get ourselves or the animator in front of the camera and act out the sequence or the shots in hand. And that's not so that the animator can copy and get it like reality, so that we have something to talk about as well. It gives us something specific, like we can convey exactly the timing that we're thinking of, how the comedy might land, whatever it is, as slow as it is, as minimal as this, even with Feathers and Brawl, acting him through this.
It's a chance for rehearsal, isn't it? So, because we can't make those mistakes, we can't do 3 takes and choose the best one. So we do that ourselves. And we talk to the animators about performance. We don't talk to them about animation, that's their job, that's what they do. So you talk to them as actors, because they're the people putting the performance up on the screen.
So the earlier shorts you directed on your own, and the features you had co-directed. So how does your collaboration work as co-directors? Do you work on different things? Kind of like double team the film, so to speak, or are you working together scene by scene?
Yeah, and actually just to fill you in as well, the reason there are two of those is very much a tradition that we brought from DreamWorks when we went to DreamWorks, and that came from Disney, where it often was a double-handed direction, just because of the massiveness of the production, really, and the amount of things to deal with every single day. But in order to do that, I asked Merlin to be involved in this way, so we both. But we both had to completely kind of absorb ourselves in the story and be involved in the story development with Mark and storyboarding and everything, so that we could actually cross. We were interchangeable. All the scenes were interchangeable. We could both direct any scene. So we both knew the film like the back of our hands.
But there is so much to do that pretty much we meet at dailies, talk about what we've done, what we're going to do, if there's any problems, and then we go our separate ways and wouldn't see each other probably till the next morning. And we did just kind of split the film down the middle. I mean, it wasn't like I did the beginning half and Nick did the second half. We sort of took alternate sequences. I mean, it seems like a really silly thing to say, but it's really important that we both make the same film, because it does need to make sense at the end of the day. So, sort of that immersion during pre-production was absolutely vital.
Merlin's got a lot of pedigree in Wallace and Gromit, kind of animating Wallace and Gromit and also directing different things into various projects. So we both know it quite well.
The thing about when you hear the names, when you hear the words Wallace and Gromit, you know that you're in for something special. 2 of the shorts won Oscars. The last feature won the animated feature Oscar. I mean, Wallace and Gromit, the shorts and the features, it's like the Beatles. Like, everything is great. Even Beatles for Sale is a great album. So when you approach a film like MOST FOWL, do you look at the legacy you built with Wallace and Gromit? We have to be here or nowhere. And how do you know when you're here?
No, I personally, I don't know. I put a lot of pressure on myself because we've enjoyed such good time with the critics for the last 30 odd years. So you don't want to do one that kind of goes below par.
Yeah, especially if you're joining a feature directing like me, with someone like Nick who's got all those accolades and has set the bar so high. The pressure is on to not mess up.
So when you get to a point where you release it out to the world when it's on Netflix and people start seeing it in 100% of Rotten Tomatoes, you just go, oh my God.
Kind of. I remember the day we watched it for the first time. Actually, we had the premiere at Aardman's Chinese theatre. I just remember just being this weight lifting off my shoulder when people were laughing in the right place. Just because you get so deep in, a lot of the jokes are not funny anymore after 5 years.
You think of jokes like 4 or 5 years ago, you don't know if that's funny anymore.
When you hear them over and over again, it's like, oh God, I hope people respond to this. But I want to talk to you one thing about the films and the shorts. It's not just about the characters and the animation and the production design. It's about the music. So can you talk about your composer for this? And I think she also did
Julian.
Julian did work.
Julian Knott. He wrote. Well, he wrote all the short. He was a fellow student at the National Film and TV School with me, and he was a composing student. And he wrote the music for Grand Day Out, and then all the other shorts. And then with DreamWorks, they also brought in Hans Zimmer to oversee that chicken as well. He was overseeing Julian, and they brought in a couple of other composers because it was such a massive job.
And one of them was this fellow called Lorne Balfe. And so Julian, when we asked Julian to do this, he said, yeah, I'd love to do it, but is there any chance I could collaborate with someone I've known for years and would love to collaborate with? And I, oh, who's that? He was Lorne Balfe. And I kind of wasn't totally up to speed on my composers, I have to be honest. I said, oh, really, what's Lorne done then? He said, oh, he's just done Top Gun. Right. And what Lorne did was he took Julian's quirky, funny British music and gave it a big sound. kind of gave it the Hollywood treatment, if you like. And together, their partnership actually was super strong. And every time we briefed them and talked to them and they delivered something back, it did the thing it's supposed to do, which is lifted the sequence or lifted the moment. And they were really tuned in cinematically to what a moment needed, whether it needed comedy, whether it needed drama. And it almost powered it up. You know, it's exactly what music should do, which is not only be a companion, but be that thing that if you didn't have it, it would never be the same. And so again, it's one of the things that I'm very proud of.
Last question, like how many long time, by round of applause, how many long time Wallace and Gromit fans do we have? What is the appeal? Why do you think, I mean, I'm sure you all know, but why do you think people just love Wallace and Gromit so much?
Still trying to work them out. And then again, I pinch myself since thinking up these two stupid names. And yeah, I began as a student film. The ultimate to me back then as a student was, oh, maybe one day we'll be shown on the BBC. That was the ultimate. So, yeah.
Well, that's a great reaction, and you know the beauty of Wallace and Gromit, this new feature, Vengeance Most Fowl, it's streaming on Netflix. You can watch it over and over. So please do that as you celebrate that Best Animated Feature nomination for Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Fowl. Nick and Merlin, thank you so much.